Manchester, a city full of life, music and a strong sense of community. But underneath there's a growing problem: homelessness. The streets have become beds and doorways are now shelters. The numbers are shocking and hard to ignore. More and more people don't have a place to call home. This isn't just about numbers, it's about real people. It's about young people forced onto the streets by things they can't control. It's about families broken apart and looking for safety anywhere they can. It's about the forgotten people, the ones we don't see, struggling to survive in the shadows of one of Britain's most exciting cities. The problem is complicated, with no easy answers or quick solutions. To understand, we need to look closer, learn more about the lives affected by this crisis. We need to listen to their stories, understand their struggles and see them as people. Only then can we start to fix the problem of homelessness in Manchester. Homelessness in Manchester has many faces. It's a young man, barely an adult, running away from a broken home. It's a woman, her face showing a hard life, holding on to her few belongings. It's a family, huddled together for warmth, their eyes showing fear and uncertainty. Homelessness doesn't pick and choose. It affects young and old, men and women, families and single people. Each person has their own story, their own reasons for being here. Behind each face is a story of hardship, of loss, of systems that failed them. One group that's especially at risk is the LGBTQ+ community. Rejected by families facing discrimination, they're more likely to end up on the streets. Groups like AKT are working hard to help, but the need is huge. These aren't just statistics, they are people who deserve our kindness and support. To really fix this crisis, we need to look past stereotypes and see the many faces of homelessness in Manchester. Manchester is booming. Construction cranes fill the sky, showing the city's economic growth. But this success has a downside. Rents are going up, making affordable housing harder to find. Gentrification, while meant to improve things, often pushes out the most vulnerable. Families who've lived in these areas for generations can no longer afford to live there and are forced to find cheaper places, often ending up on the streets. The gap between the rich and the poor is getting bigger, showing the inequality in our cities. The city's plan to fight homelessness from 2024 to 2027 recognizes these problems and outlines ways to tackle them. But the question remains, can these plans keep up with the rapid pace of development and the increasing pressure on those already struggling? It's a complicated issue, a careful balancing act between encouraging economic growth and making sure everyone benefits. One thing is clear, we can't ignore the people being pushed to the edges by the very things meant to help the city grow. Section 4. Trapped in a cycle. Homelessness is rarely just about not having a home. It's often connected to a complicated mix of problems: mental health issues, addiction, and being alone. For many, mental health struggles and addiction are both causes and results of homelessness. The trauma of living on the streets can make existing problems worse, while not having a stable home makes it very hard to get and stay in treatment. Emergency shelters, while offering temporary help, often lack the resources to deal with these complicated needs. Many have strict rules against drugs and alcohol, forcing those struggling with addiction back onto the streets, making them even more isolated from support. Breaking this cycle requires a complete approach, one that addresses not just the immediate need for shelter, but also the underlying issues causing homelessness. It requires compassion, understanding, and a commitment to providing long-term support that helps people rebuild their lives. Section 5. Hope on Wheels. Even with all the sadness, there are signs of hope. Organisations like the Purple Bus offer a lifeline to those living on the streets. This mobile shelter provides more than just a hot meal and a warm blanket. It offers a sense of community, a place where people feel seen and cared for. The Purple Bus works on the principle of harm reduction, offering clean needles and access to counselling. It's about helping people where they are, providing support without judgment. It shows how small projects can make a real difference in the lives of those who need it most. Community efforts like the 24-hour run against homelessness also play a big role. These events not only raise important money, but also help to raise awareness of the problem and encourage a sense of shared responsibility. These initiatives, while good, are just a small part of what's needed. Tackling homelessness requires a system-wide approach. More investment in affordable housing, accessible mental health services, and policies that put the needs of the most vulnerable first. It's about creating a society where everyone has the chance to thrive, not just survive.